Good afternoon, good morning, good evening. I don't know when you're watching this show, but that's Mr. Anthony Garcia, the Mood Master, opening up for us. I'm Wallace Allen. This is Empire Talks Back. Today's guest, Dr. Sharon Barnes, is going to tell us how to make better use of our backyard and to create some affordable housing at the same time. We'll be back right after this short break.
When I look at all these success stories, I cannot help but think it all started by getting my high school diploma.
When you graduate, they graduate. Visit finishyourdiploma.org to find free and supportive adult education centers near you.
Yeah, I know. Wait, yeah, you just look at that. It's so sad.
All right, we're back and we are excited about the idea of turning our backyard into an income stream. But before we do that, we need some information. And we're going to get it from Dr. Sharon Barnes. Sharon, how are you today?
I am fantastic, Wallace. So good to be here with you.
It's a pleasure to have you. And tell us a little bit about what you're doing here. We're talking about an ADU. What is an ADU?
Well, I'm an ADU expert, and I'm the author of Unveiling ADUs.
Author of Unveiling
ADUs, a comprehensive guide.
Well,
I felt that it was time that we had something in our hand that could give us a framework to have some clarity and intelligent conversations with our local officials. So what I do is basically help homeowners turn their property into an income-producing asset through strategic ADU planning, education, guidance, and resources.
What does ADU, the acronym, stand for?
Well, ADU stands for Accessory Dwelling Unit, and it is a term that's directly related to California law that allows just about every homeowner to add an additional dwelling unit, an additional living unit on their current property that they already own and control.
See, my impressions or inclinations are correct, because when you say ADU, I want to say additional dwelling unit.
Yeah.
And that's how you describe it.
Yeah.
But that's not what they call it.
Yeah.
So that's the beginning of the confusion.
Right. So, and part of that, and I know beginning of the confusion, because some people will say auxiliary dwelling, yes, and some people will say additional. And sometimes we have to be careful, because that confusion is for structures that we might put on our property that we can only use as workshops or, hobby, or my day spa that I have in my backyard, but not for long-term living. Long-term living has health and safety consequences, has permitting uses, and so we have to make sure that we're going to rent it out to make that income and to really lay a foundation for building wealth, that it is a habitable structure. And so the law says accessory dwelling unit. As a former attorney, words matter, and when you talk to people, you have to use the right words. So the law is written for accessory dwelling units can be added to residential property that you already own and control.
How do we get involved in this? What's the structure? What's the movement? I know that if we call and talk to our city and we don't use the right terminology, that becomes another excuse that makes it hard. What are some of the myths involved in clarifying and getting involved in an accessory
dwelling unit?
Accessory dwelling unit.
ADUs for short, but accessory dwelling units, or adding maybe call it a secondary living unit on your property. So back up a little bit. I founded a company called ADU Advantage.
Okay.
And I founded that during the COVID area, and I think that during that lockdown, a lot of us start thinking about our living space a little bit different. For the first time in a long time, we had to come together generationally under one roof. So we start thinking about what we have in our hand that we can leverage. And then after we kind of came out of that and realized the increase in costs and housing and so forth, what I saw was a gap between people who were starting to hear about accessory dwelling units. I think some of the confusion was confusing that with tiny homes, but they were hearing about their ability to add units to their property or something to their property. And then we had the industry specialists, the architects, the contractor, the structural engineer that could help you actually build it. But in between that, there was an education gap because a lot of us haven't even bought a new home. So I remember buying my first new home. We sold a home and we moved in with my sister-in-law. We were supposed to be there for like 6 weeks. It turned out to be 6 months. Why? Because the developer got behind schedule, right? And that developer understood permitting, drawings, infrastructure, building the property, was building hundreds, and they couldn't even keep up to schedule. So now the law says that, hey, we have a housing shortage, and the big boys can't build us out of this. We need all hands on deck. So if you have space in your backyard to build an additional dwelling unit, we want to help you do that. We want to lower some of the fees. We want to alleviate some of the barriers that we've had in the past, because we need everybody to participate. Even if you're just building it for your parents or your adult children, we need housing units and we need everybody on board. So that kind of gave a rebirth to the accessory dwelling unit legislation that's, to me, like a surfer on a wave, right? It's still going up, but it hasn't crashed yet.
Okay.
So it's time to get in the movement, understand what's going on, and my favorite tagline is, hey, let me help you leverage what you already own and control.
Well, yeah, because the road is not level.
No.
And I would imagine, because this is a state mandate initially, right?
Yes.
Which means that each city has to deal with its own zoning and its own policy for how it's going to accommodate and facilitate the ADUs. Is that correct? Or
yeah, but let's back up a
to?
little bit. It didn't start with the state. It kind of evolved to the state, because we have people who, not even though we have this housing prices, and even though property in California may be expensive, there are people who do not encourage building additional dwelling units.
Well,
so
yes.
On the local, there was a lot of opposition.
And there still is.
There still is. There still is.
And that's why we're suggesting that
right.
each city has a little different policy, or am I wrong about that?
But they may have different policies. However, that state law lays the foundation. They cannot be more restricted than the state law.
Yes.
And there are state entitlements for building an ADU, which says that if you can meet the setbacks, no city or jurisdiction can stop you from building an 800 square foot ADU or less.
However, I bet every city doesn't agree with that.
Then there are remedies for that, and they're out of compliance.
Yes, but out of compliance as a city is easier for the city to stay out of compliance than it is for a resident to make them get in compliance.
Only if the resident doesn't have an ADU consultant like
Okay,
myself,
so
or
that's the reason for
other experts that's in this ADU niche that knows that we have the HCD that is really guiding and laying out the foundation of what the law and what you can and cannot do. And there are attorneys and agencies in place that if you feel like a city is not in compliance or a jurisdiction is not allowing to do something that's contrary to the law, that we can go and get reading on that, get support on that a long time before you get to the lawsuit. But there's remedies out there, so it takes the right team and somebody who knows ADUs.
Team.
Definitely.
Okay, so just because you have a house and a backyard and a city that will allow that to take place doesn't mean that it's a walk through the park.
No, not without the right team. I mean, my suggestion is you never go it alone. Okay, it's all about getting consultants and professionals to help you and to know what you can and cannot do and what the basic requirements are. I have a story when I was at the one of the county agencies, and I encountered a gentleman who walked in, and he was like very upset because he had bought this property. It had a structure on there, and he thought he could be able to rent it out, but he wanted to do some retrofit. He wanted to add some solar. So when he hired his contractor to get started with that, the contractor went down to the city, and they said that it wasn't permitted. So he ran in and he was saying, I need to know whether or not the casita is permitted. The realtor and the seller told me it was permitted. Now I get this notice from you that it's not permitted. And the first thing that the representative said was that, sir, casitas are not permittable units. I can see whether it qualifies for an ADU or an accessory dwelling unit.
A different name.
Yeah.
For the same.
Okay. The law says accessory dwelling unit, so it can't. If it's just a casita by name, it might not be permitted.
Somebody ought to write a book to make this easier.
Well, I tried. This is the
that's
first
right.
one.
Yeah. Okay.
I have some others, but
Okay,
we'll be connected.
All right, I get it now.
But
No,
so
seriously, and not that you're not
No,
being
yeah.
serious, but the housing shortage has been talked about for some time.
Yes.
ADUs have been talked about for some time.
Yes.
And this state mandate that says you need to be able to get this done has kind of put us all together in the same room and said, we have this opportunity, we want to take advantage of it. You are working here in the Inland Empire.
Primarily.
Are you finding resistance from the cities? Are you finding what's slowing it down, or is it slow, or is it moving at the pace that you think it should be?
I would like to see it move faster.
Okay.
I don't see a lot of resistance from the cities because they understand the mandate. They understand that they have to have, say, pre-approved ADU plans by the end of the year. My structure and engineering firm that I work with is working diligently to get pre-approved plans in the cities, especially here in the Central Inland Empire. And I have another network that has plans out in Los Angeles. So cities are trying to comply. I believe that there's a lot of education gap between the consumer and the homeowner and building the ADU, because we have this myth that is somehow substandard. You know, like somebody said, I can just buy a shed from Home Depot and make it into an ADU. And like, no, you can't. Okay, it has to be fully permitted, and it has to be habitable, just like the house that you live in. I mean, I'd rather say that this law and this mandate allows you to build a custom home in your backyard. If you think of it as a custom home instead of, I'll say ADU and somebody says tiny home, it's like, no, it's two different things. I'll say ADU and they say casita, not necessarily the same thing. So now you have the ability
Mother-in-law house. Or,
oh yeah,
you know,
I mean, and those are great marketing terms, and they paint a picture as to what we're talking about. But legally, it has to be basically a self-sustaining living unit built to the standard construction standards that we have, the same as the house that you're living in. And I think if we get our mind around that, we understand the pricing and the process. Because people think that it's something I can just put on my property, it's $50,000. It's like, no. And then when I tell them that maybe it's going to be $250K or $300K, then it's like, well, that's too much. But tell me, where in this country can you go buy a brand new 2-bedroom, 2-bath house, energy efficient, new appliances for $300,000? Okay.
So we want to talk about what can actually occur with this ADU, because many of us are thinking it's just a little rental, but it sounds like you're saying we could actually build that house and possibly sell it. Yes. Very good. Well, we're going to take a short break, and when we come back, let's explore the possibilities of what you can do with the ADU and what systems may be out there to assist you in finding a renter or helping to find a seller or even helping to get financing to get the ADU done. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay, we're going to take a short break.
All right,
we'll be right back.
People couldn't see my potential, so I had to show them.
I've run this place for 20 years, but I still need to prove that I'm more than what you see on paper.
Today, I'm the CEO of my own company.
It's the way my mind works. I have a very mechanical brain.
Why are we not rethinking this?
I am more
I'm more
than who I am on paper.
I was a quarterback at Hardaway High School. College first round draft pick, on and off the field. We were taught to not show any signs of weakness. During the football season, I would stop eating. But I didn't know I was depressed. I thought that something was wrong with me. For 20 plus years was physical. We didn't have any education behind what mental health was. I started to learn it starts here first. If this is together, I'll be better as a father, as a man, and as a husband. Put the importance on your mental health. I'm not scared to talk about it anymore. The first tool is therapy. The second one is positive self-talk. And then journaling, putting your thoughts on paper. We have to redefine what being a strong man is and heal, love your mind.
Welcome back. I'm Wallace Allen. This is Empire Talks Back. We're speaking with Dr. Sharon Barnes, an expert on accessory dwelling units. Doc, we've talked a little bit about accessory dwelling units.
Yes.
Let's talk about the opportunity. What does it really mean, and what type of system or team do you actually have available to offer to a prospective builder or prospective homeowner that wants to build that ADU?
Well, the opportunity is ever increasing because, as I mentioned earlier, the laws are still evolving. But what we have now is that policy, laws, and the need are all aligning. So that's where we need to get involved now. So what I do with most of my clients, try to teach them to start thinking like a builder or developer in phases. Phase one is to get a feasibility review and probably a site plan, because that'll let you know what's on your property, what you can build on your property, and gives you clarity to start having more detailed, deep conversations with other contractors or your city. When you just go to the counter and you don't have anything that they can get that picture out of your head, the answers might be different.
Don't go buy shoes without knowing what size you wear.
Exactly. Okay.
Okay.
Can't even tell you what store to go into the mall. Mm-hmm. So then, in phase two would be once we kind of know what's on your property and what you can build, then we want to start. We're getting at least the first one built, because this time we talk about opportunity. The opportunity in California right now is there is a law. If you stack it right and understand what's going on, you can build almost 3 units on every residential property if you can meet the setbacks, which means you have the potential of making your single family home basically have 4 units, 3 paying for your main house.
Now wait a minute, are we talking about starting on an empty lot? Or?
No.
Okay, so we have the house.
Accessory dwelling unit laws say you're required to have 1 primary unit in existence, a primary house.
Can
now,
you build that and then add on to it as
you
an
can,
ADU?
yes, you can build concurrently.
Okay.
So we have programs, say we have veterans who are looking to identify infill lots and then build the main house and an ADU, and some of the VA financing allows them to do that.
So you can identify a
Yes.
property and go through the process of doing the feasibility.
Yes.
And an architect.
Yes.
What are the next steps so that what builds your team? I guess after you do all that, you need to find some money.
Well, once you have the site plan and you sign off and you know what you're going to build, you know what your budget is, where you're starting at, then you have to go into a formal set of drawings and permits. That's anywhere from $10,000 to $20,000 on the average. Then from once it's permitted, and until the city or county permits you to build something, it's really hard to get a solid construction price. Nobody can give you a price on something if they don't know what you're building. Mm-hmm. And so that's some of the disconnect. But then we go into construction based on your finances, the budget, and what the city say you can build, at least phase one. And we get that up and we get that income producing or serving your family, and then we look at the next one.
I just got a phone call from an interested home buyer right here.
Yes.
Yeah, they just called.
Yes.
And they were stuck when you said that they needed to come up with $10,000 to $20,000 before they even had a building plan or a commitment for a contractor to tell them how much it would cost to build what they want.
So the contractor is going to tell you how much your Nikes are going to cost, not knowing your shoe size, how far they're going to deliver it, or whether you want leather or cloth. Okay.
But I've got to put up that money for that information to be available.
To be, for the formal information. And I sit back and I'm like, okay, why is the resistance like to putting up money for accessory dwelling unit? I'm a realtor. When we go out and look for houses to purchase, when we find something to put on an offer, we have to say how much we're willing to put down to open escrow. Okay, 3% or whatever. That can be, your getting your site plan. Then before we close escrow, what is our down payment? Today in California, that could be $100,000. What it is for the ADU, let's look at that $20,000 for the drawings and the permits as your closing, okay? Because until you get a site plan where you're going to build it and what you can build, that you can actually get to the construction phase, and then a contractor can look at it and tell you a good bid because they know what you're allowed to build at this point. If somebody tells you I can build it for $200,000, or maybe he knows you only want to spend $150 and tells you this is why we have a large number of projects not completed and people disappearing because the money runs out and the project is not completed because you tried to take a shortcut and you did not do things decent and in order.
Decent and in order. Okay, that means there are some definite steps that one needs to take. Your book will help people understand those steps.
Yes.
Part of those steps we need to understand from the beginning will require that they have been saving some money or putting some money together to make the same move that they would have been making if they were going to buy a house.
Exactly.
Okay, so what we're saying is that Mr. Jones, who has a house that he's living in and making his house note regular, and he's got a backyard that's got room for maybe a couple dwellings, but he doesn't have an overabundance of cash flow. But we see opportunity there. Is there anything that creatively that you see or have done or see other people do create that little cash pocket for them?
A lot of our clients start off with taking out a home equity line of credit, and the benefit of home equity line of credit is that it could give you that funds that you need to get the site plan and to get your drawings and permits. Okay, then we can work on you qualifying for the construction loan. Okay, and with the home line of credit, you only pay for the money that you use as you use it. It's not like taking out a loan and having to start paying back in 30 days. The other thing we have is that, especially for veterans, and there's assistance out there for some other people that will allow them maybe a construction loan that's 100% financing, and that could include site plans, drawings, and so forth. So you really have to talk and get a team that understands and can work with you and coordinate these things.
Does it help to raise that money if you have a commitment for a renter or something someone who's going to move into that property and they made a commitment to move into it and it's a lease agreement? Does that help?
Yes.
Push
Let
the
me
money
let me
along
just
for you?
answer that this way, because I feel that to truly leverage the property you already own and control and take advantage of these laws, you have to treat it like a business. Okay? So if you have family members, if you have a living trust, if you're a business owner and you want to come together and have a project that says it's going to put a ADU on your property, then you can do that with an agreement with a buyout, paying them interest or whatever, because once it's completed, you not only have that cash flow from a renter, your property value also goes up. And so you have extra equity. I mean, in this area, adding an ADU to your property can take you from, say, $750,000 value to kissing $1 million or $1.2 million. Then you got $300,000 or $400,000. That's how we build the third unit. Okay, but then you always keep in control, because just like they have allowed, the law has allowed us to condolize ADUs now, right? And if we think about how condos work, you as the homeowner keep the land, keep the primary home, never jeopardize that, and you can lease out or sell the structure that's on the property. So what's the difference if you're going to go in and get a private lender or get an investor to come in to say, I need to get from my current home with this half-acre backyard to 3 additional units. Can you help fund me? And then to talk about how you will pay them back from the rents, from the income that you generate.
So private investors could knock on doors and say, I notice you've got a big backyard, and if you're interested in building, we're interested in supporting you in doing that.
Yes.
And in supporting you, we would share equity on that property until you were able to either buy us out or
that's the strategy that we've seen. And we advise homeowners to get legal counsel before they sign anything on their property. But that's a way, because you can lease your backyard, or you can, like I said, you can have an investor come in and invest in you and your vision, just as if you were going to go out and flip a property. Flippers come together under LLCs, buy a property, fix it up, put it back on the market. You can come together, build the ADU, and get a tenant in there, pay off whatever loan or interest you owe to the people who help you get there, and then own the property straight out.
People watching the show are probably having questions, and sorry folks, we can't answer them right now. Do you have access? Can people access you? Do you have seminars? Do you have a way for a group of people to come together and use each other's questions to help educate each other?
Yes. So we have a campus here in the city of Fontana where we have actual ADUs you can come tour. We have 3D models of all our approved ADUs, and my team is usually very supportive in being there, which includes architects, contractors, structural engineers, lenders, appraisers, and everything. So connecting with me on social media or calling or texting ADU to 951-577-3774. I can send you a copy of one chapter of my book, and I also have a feasibility checklist for ADUs that can help you start getting clarity and decide how you can move forward to the next step.
So if someone were to contact you and get your book and get all excited and stuff and decide that they want to do this, would you welcome their call at 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning?
Yes, yes, okay. Because I am also, I have AI employees that answer the phone 24/7. I am working to help other business owners do AI as well. But you can call me at 888-352. What is that? 3449. That's 888-352-3449.
Most of us have to look at our phone now to get those numbers. I want to applaud you on your memory there.
But if you call me, you will get information on how to get some of our free resources, our upcoming webinars and campus tours, as well as book an appointment with me where we can review your property together and decide what the next steps are.
So we see a great future in ADUs,
yes.
Whether we call them accessible dwelling units or make a mistake and call them additional dwelling units.
Call it the wrong thing, go to the city and then get mad and then come back and see me.
Just be sure to call me. Right? Dr. Barnes, it's a pleasure having you here.
Thank you.
I do appreciate that you've come.
Thank you.
And I hope that people take advantage of this opportunity you're presenting.
Thank you very much, Wallace. I appreciate the opportunity. And let's build stronger communities and more houses.
Excellent. Well, I told you you'd be able to find out how to get rich in your own backyard. And you didn't have to discover any oil, which I understand you wouldn't get to keep anyway. This is Empire Talks Back. I'm Wallace Allen. Thank you so much for joining us. See you next time.